Okay, so let's start the session. Just before giving the word to my colleague Frederico, I would like just to talk a bit about Data Market Services program, the initiative that brings this webinar. So we have currently an open call until the end of May, until the 31st of May, an open call for data-driven startups. So we have an acceleration program which will run from June to the end of the year, and this program will include several webinars like this in topics like intellectual property, GDPR, B2B sales, fundraising strategy, several topics regarding how to help data-driven startups to thrive. Also mentoring sessions, matchmaking with investors, content like guides for several themes, also data science courses, and even the possibility to participate in some events that we expect that may be held by the third quarter of the year, including the next web conference, the South Summit, and other events for which we may grant the possibility for the startups that get selected to participate in these events, mobility programs in the Netherlands, Portugal, Germany, and Romania, and the final event with physically held workshops and mentoring sessions. So we'll invite you to, after this session, this webinar, to search for datamarketservices.eu and get to know our open call a bit better. And without further ado, I would ask my colleague Fred to present, and so let me only grant him access to the presentation. So I think Fred, can you share the screen?
No, not yet.
Let me check. I think that Carlota may give the control to you. Okay, so is it in the top of the menu, Carlota? Sharing.
Yeah, I have keyboard and mouse access, but I don't have the presentation permission.
So it should be in the top of the control panel, but you can't launch the presentation, right? Okay. Sharing. Okay, change the presenter. I'll change it now. So now you should be able to present, Fred.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you guys see
Okay,
it?
great. Yeah, yes.
Okay, cool. So 2 things before we start. First, thank you so much for coming and attending this webinar. I really hope that this provides any value to you. Second one, I just want to apologize up front. I have 2 small kids in the house. They're napping right now, but they will probably wake up during this session. So if you hear shouting and screaming, well, that's just them being re-energized, okay? So first of all, hi. I'll just start by presenting myself and a little bit about my company before I get into details about the presentation. So my name is Frederico. Everybody calls me Fred. I have an engineering background, but I never did actually real hardcore engineering. I always been focused in product and bringing technological products to the market. I started off as a product manager for cybersecurity products, like centralized firewalls, VPNs, that kind of stuff for large companies. Then I moved on to being the project manager and the product responsible for the launch of the cloud computing platform, in the first cloud computing platform in Portugal. Then I moved on and I was challenged to build an open innovation program within a telco. That also allowed me to do an MBA, and with that MBA, I had a growing interest in the VC and the private equity industry. And after a while, I was given the opportunity to go to those businesses. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I work at BrightPixel. I'm an associated investment in the investment part. So I basically do analysis from a technological and product perspective for the BrightPixel fund. BrightPixel is a venture builder studio. So we actually help entrepreneurs to build their companies from ground up, like from the idea stage where there's nothing, there's not even a business plan. And we help entrepreneurs to build that business plan, to understand and to talk to customers, to understand product market fit, and to get investment or even get a team. Our tickets go from 50K up to 1.5 million. And this generally goes from pre-seed up to Series A. We are very, very, very focused. So we try to provide the most value to our companies. So we only invest in startups that are developing software for business to business in the retail, telco, and cybersecurity sectors. Okay. And that is pretty much it. Okay, so heading off for our pitch presentation. So before we get into the real pitching guide, I'm going to start off by trying to explain what is the interest and the concerns of the stakeholders that are present in the room when you're trying to pitch to an investor. So I start off with a question: what do investors want? And the answer is kind of simple. We want higher returns. We have funds that are invested by limited partners, and they give us their money for us to manage and to invest wisely into companies and to provide them with the highest return possible. If we don't provide that high returns, they don't invest in us again and we run out of a job. That's pretty much it. So when we look into a startup and when we hear a pitch, this is when we're trying to access, okay? We want to know how you can provide us and our customers a higher return. So main point of the pitch should be how big the problem is. I don't want you to solve a small problem, okay? If you're going for a niche market, it has to have sufficient value that you can provide a high return and that you are somehow scalable, and that if it's very, very niche, that I can somehow replicate that niche into other niche markets. Okay. This is also very connected to scalability and to fastness of execution. So I want you to be fast, both fast and both very scalable. Second question is regarding your competition. So first of all, you should have a competition. We don't believe in blue oceans. We do believe that if you have competition, that is beneficial, and that means that there is a market. So the question is, why should I invest in you and not your competition? Why do you provide me the best return? Why will you execute better than anyone else? What is your unfair advantage? And the last, and this is very important in the current situation that we're facing right now, is how can I decrease the risk in this investment? And the answer to this has basically, we can talk all day about risk management, but I want to focus on two major aspects. One of them is how can I contribute to the startup? Meaning, if I somehow leverage on my experience, on my network, and provide you with the best contacts and the best customers and allow you to grow and scale really, really fast, I'm decreasing my risk and the risk to my customers. If I'm just providing you with dumb money, I'm not really reducing the risk. I'm just acting out as a bank. Okay. And that for me as an investor, and this is very important within BRPX, I have to mitigate risk, and I only invest in startups that I can provide value to. The second aspect of this question has to do with the specific context that we're at right now. So we're in the market contraction, so deals and the terms of those deals will be more challenging. Okay, valuations will probably go down, and most likely are going down right now. It's not most likely, they are going down right now. And you will see that the deal terms will be somehow harder for founders. And those harder for founders don't have to do anything of the terms that were 2 weeks ago. Meaning, right now it's people will want to mitigate risk and want to somehow reduce the liability of a company defaulting. Meaning, the terms that will be applied from now on will most likely be tranched investments, meaning that you don't get the money all up front. You get the money over tranches over 2 or 3 times, according to the objectives that you already predefined in the investment and the early investment. And 2, probably if you don't perform, you will have to give out more equity. Okay, so the valuation that you establish at the beginning is not probably the end valuation that you will have when you go for a Series A or for a seed round, for the next round, whatever it is. And those are the terms that are being negotiated right now. Hopefully, when all this economic crisis fades away, we'll go back to being more founder friendly, but right now we have to mitigate risk. Okay. Okay, the second stakeholder in the room, it's you. So it's very, very important before walking into that room or walking into that meeting or that conference call to understand what you want from your investors. And I really wish that more founders had this in consideration before meeting investors. So first of all, you have to think, what do you want from them? Is it just the money? Is it just about the money that they're going to invest so you can acquire a team? It's completely fine if it is, but just be honest about it. Or do you want someone that has a lot of experience in the sector that allows you to and helps you create a team and helps you with the technology? And that is typically the definition of a strategic investor. Okay. It doesn't have to be black and white. There are rounds where founders decide that they want the money plus strategic investors, because you also don't want a board full of strategic investors that aren't currently aligned with the strategy of the company. Second one, and this is very, very important. Most founders don't do this. Do your own due diligence. Us as investors, we do the due diligence across all the members of your team. We go and trace back where they study, who they're worked for. We even talk to the companies that they worked for to understand what is the profile and what is that person that is in front of us presenting a pitch. So you should do the same. All the investors have a portfolio with companies that they invested in. It's really, really easy. Just go there, download the portfolio, go to LinkedIn and talk to their founders. And by doing so, you get the sense of how that investor acts with their portfolio. If it's going to, for instance, help you out when you're going through the rough times, and you're going to go through rough times, or it's just someone that is going to throw rocks at you every time you just pivot a little bit, okay? Try to understand through their portfolio and through their manifesto if they can provide money and if they can provide network and if they can provide value besides money, okay? Third one, you define a strategy for the round. So don't just say that you need 300K and then you don't have any notion if you want to do a convertible note or an equity round, or how much is going to be your runway or what you want that money for. Just be very clear and be very concise about what are the terms that you're leveraging on, okay? They don't have to be set in stone. We all know that this is a negotiation process, but set your initial terms right off the bat. Don't start with an equity round and go to the convertible note because you don't want to discuss valuation, okay? Okay, so I'm going to present you a pitch template, and I'm going to give you the template itself. Then I'm going to present you an example of that slide on the next slide, okay? Just feel free to ask questions. Joan's in the call. He will probably, yeah, it's just what it says there. So feel free to interrupt and put the questions there by typing. Each time that I go through a session of the presentation, I will go back to the chat and see that if there are any questions. Okay. Okay. So first slide, it's always the same. It's your logo plus a punchline, and do make a punchline. Meaning, presenting a company to an investor is like presenting yourself to any person. So any person has a general idea or sets a general idea of you within the first 10 seconds. It's the same thing with an investor, okay? When I see a logo and what that company proposes itself to do, that sets my mindset for the rest of the pitch, okay? So be thoughtful about this single attention-grabbing sentence, okay? Let me give you an example from one of our portfolio companies. So logo, sunset, and then the sentence is Amazon Go for non-Amazon shops. So as long as you're a tech investor or have a slight knowledge about the retail sector, you do know what these guys are doing. It's just Amazon Go, automatic checkout, using computer vision, no clerks, no people within the shop to interact with. You just go in, grab what you want, and by the checkout, you just present your phone, you pay, and you leave. That's it. And this is what they are trying to implement for non-Amazon shops, because Amazon is limiting its technology to its own shops. Well, it was. Anyway. Okay. Next slide, problem definition. I see a lot of startups not being able to address to state a problem correctly. Meaning, they start off with a solution, they clearly don't define what is the target audience, and you should really focus a lot on this first problem, because this gives me right off the bat what is the market size, what is the problem you're tackling, if it's relevant or not, and if I can help, if I can leverage on my experience on my network. So to do this, and this is the way I help our founders to do a pitch, we generally go through the problem statement in Canvas. Okay, so it's a canvas that gives you clearly what the problem is in quantifiable and in quantifiable terms. So it talks about what is the context, what is the target audience, what is the root cause of the problem, what is the impact, whether either it's emotional, but most importantly quantifiable, what are the alternatives and why don't those alternatives work? Okay, why is your alternative better than the others? So as an example, so this is, I'm going to use an example throughout the presentation. It's a ride-sharing app, and it's completely hypothetical, so don't lose too much time on details. I just want you to go through the general setting. So the problem is that in São Paulo, Brazil, commuters lose over 40 hours a week to drive off and come back from work, okay? To optimize time and the cost, they are using today Uber driver, but it's not very effective because they have to pick up and drop people that aren't exactly on their route, so they end up spending more fuel and spending more time commuting. And this commuting every month represents 1.6 million tons of CO2 released into the atmosphere. Okay, so who is my target audience? First one. Second one, what are the alternatives and why don't they work? And third one, impact. Then we go through the solution. So what is the solution that is being presented, or what do you propose yourself to do? To do this, it's generally trying to transmit the value proposition. And to do that, this framework, the value proposition canvas, it's very helpful. So start off with the right part of the slide that is based on the customer, meaning what is he trying to do, his customer jobs, what does he see as a gain, what does he aspire to achieve, and what are his current pains. On the left side, you have your own product, okay? This is filled up with the Tesla example, but you can find a lot of examples online. So the pain relievers address the pains, the gain creators try to address the gain, and all of it has to somehow address the customer jobs, what he's trying to do. Okay, so if you apply that to our ride-sharing app, well, the first pain that we're trying, or the first job that we're trying to address is to find commuters that have an identical itinerary. For our end user, we want to have it on-demand ride sharing. So we don't want to have predefined schedules. And we want it to be private and safe, addressing one of the major pains that they have while using a ride sharing app. Okay, next up, go to how does it work? So what are the features and what is your roadmap? So this is pretty straightforward. So if you can use this mockup to be more visual, that's great. And I tried to do that here. So this is the workflow. This is the flow that the user has to book a ride. So he enters up, signs up, enters his home and work address. We will find the fellow commuters on the same itinerary, and then you'll have a dynamic scheduling and in-app payments. Don't be afraid to present features that are still not developed, as long as you're clear that you're trying to develop them, and try to give a sense of when they will be ready, okay? Okay, next up, market. This is when it gets really, really interesting for investors. So I want to know if this is a problem that is big enough, and I want to know if it's a problem that it's growing, okay? If this industry is growing over the time. So regarding market, try always to figure out what is your SOM, your SAM, and your TAM. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's not very relevant right now. You can find a lot of information about this online. Just be sure that you know what is your SOM. So what is the target market that you can reach in the near term, okay? This is going to be very, very important for the definition of pipeline, for instance, or for your leads. Regarding growth, always look for online about CAGR of your industry, okay? That gives a sense of what is the growth rate over the time within that specific industry. Competition, as I told you, you should have competition. And if you don't have competition, something's wrong. Meaning either the market is not big enough or either you're misevaluating other conditions like barriers to entry, or you're assessing your competition wrong. Competition is not about features, it's about the value proposition. And that meaning that you always have to assess direct competition and indirect competition. Let's go to, and this is also very associated with differentiation, okay? I generally see these two slides together, but it's completely okay to make two different slides out of it. Okay, going for our example, here you have a set of direct competition and indirect competition. So taxis are not exactly a direct competition, but they do get persons from point A to point B, and they can be shared within coworkers. So it's indirect competition in somehow. Always try to put here what are you competing right now and how are you features addressing these demands, these needs. And what do you see there on yellow? It's basically something that it's not done yet. So it's the in-app payments that was supposed to be done on Q3 2020. Okay, then go to how do I make money with this? So how does this provide value to the company? And this can go into two large blocks. One of them is how do I make money? So what is my revenue model? How will people pay for my service? And second one is what is my go-to-market strategy? Okay, so going through our example, I have two revenue streams on the top. That one is ads. So each time everybody uses a mobile app, they will give me, wow, 0.001, so 0.1 cents of a dollar. And for each ride, I will charge a fixed fee plus a fee per kilometer, where I will share the fees with the driver. So 20% for sharing is caring, that is the name of the company, and 80% for the driver. And before I present the other revenue stream, I have to go to the go-to-market strategy. So most people would assume that this would be a B2C company, but it's not. So to be a B2C company, you will need to spend a lot of money advertising and being above the noise that it's the App Store and the Play Store. So they're actually going through other go-to-market strategies. So they're tackling directly to the businesses. So they're going to target social responsibility and HR departments and focus on employee welfare and reduction of CO2. And they will try to monetize this by making a white label version of the application available for a fee. Okay. Okay, next up, traction. So with this revenue model, how things are going right now. And if you're a pre-rev startup, it's completely okay. Just put here everything that you are piloting and who you talk to and the manifestations of interest that you have. Okay, it doesn't have to have revenues to be interesting, but you do need to have to talk to somebody to prove product market fit. If you already have revenues, then put here what are the revenues and divide them, what is one shot and what is the monthly recurring revenue, okay? Financials. Regarding financials, you also need to, so you've taken care of the revenues, now you need to take care of the costs. So you already told what is the revenue model. Here you need to tell me what is your cost structure. And the rough draft of the business plan is basically how these two things match up. Okay. So in this slide, I basically mashed up what is my costs, what is my traction, and what is my business plan. So I told him what is my current burn rate, where I'm at right now. So I have 1,000 beta users with one company that are providing me with $100 a month because I had to make a huge discount because this is a pilot. I have 10 companies on my pipeline as leads, but I have 2 hot leads, meaning that I'm already negotiating with them, and I have a third, and I have 1 company that I'm currently piloting with. Okay. And then you present what is the business plan, basically. So how the revenues and how the costs are along the time. This gives me basically the support to build this slide. It is about the round, okay? So here you're going to tell me how much are you raising and how much are the terms and what will you use your money for. And by meaning what will you use the money for, this has to be somehow connected with the cost that you presented me before, okay? And how much are you raising? It's basically a mashup of revenues and burn rate. So if I had to have this on a single slide, this is how I would present. So I'm currently raising 300K on a convertible note with 20% discount and a 2-year maturity. I'm going to use the funds for product development to increase my team and for marketing campaigns. And my current investors that I had in the previous round are these 2 amazing guys that are contributing this somehow to the company. For the next round, what I propose myself to do is this. So in 2 years, I want to have more than 50K users, over 100K rides within the company, within the platform, over 20 companies that I establish a partnership with, and my accumulated revenue is above 500K before distributing fees, of course. Okay. Last but not least, because investors are going to invest in the team, so present your team. And you can present here what are profiles that you currently have on the team and the profiles that you're going to recruit, okay? And how they complement each other. It's what we want to know with the team is trying to understand what are the specifics skills that are still not being addressed, okay? And how do you propose to address them? And last but not least, thanks and the contacts. And by contacts, please don't send a generic email. You're addressing an investor on a one-to-one basis, so provide your own email, okay? So don't do hello@sharingiscaring.com. Okay, so as final remarks, first, this is not a recipe, okay? This is the baseline that I use when I'm trying to help our startups and to see if something is missing. But the flow doesn't have to be this one. It has to be something that makes sense to your specific product and that you're mostly comfortable with, okay? Second, adapt the message to your audience, meaning if it's a tech investor, this is very related to the due diligence that we talked in the earlier presentation. If it's tech investors, go deep in tech, but be aware that they will probably ask you technical questions as well, so bring a tech guy to the presentation. As for a corporate investor, tech is not that much important, so he's more interested in to understand how this product will map within his product portfolio and how he can leverage and how can he distribute this to his sales team. So it's a slightly different presentation. And as any investor, look into their portfolio and try to understand where you stand on. Meaning, if your competition is already there, why are you going to pitch to that investor? And if you have companies that somehow are complementary to you, that can be a huge added value in that specific investor, okay? practice. Specific. If it's a one-to-one meeting, it's relevant that you keep it short, but it's not really relevant whether you take 30 minutes or you take 45 minutes. Just don't go over that. But if it's a public speech, like in an events, train and go and practice a lot. And if it's 5 minutes, you have to practice to do it in 4, because you're going to get nervous on stage and you're going to talk a little bit more. Okay. Plus, iterate, meaning each time that you do a presentation, you will get questions, and use those questions to enhance your presentation. João is seeing this this presentation for the 4th or 5th time. I assure you that it's always slightly different from the version that he saw before, because I take the inputs of what people ask me and try to place them here and try to make it as clear as possible. And last but not least, one pitch does not fit all. It's completely different to have a pitch that is sent over email or a pitch that is presented on public or through a web conference. It's completely different. On a web conference, they are listening to your voice and you can talk a lot more than what is described on the slides. Through email, if you send that presentation, people are not going to understand and going to miss out the details. So it's got to have more text. It has to have and be more dense. Just don't overdo it. But the concept is don't. It's not the same pitch at all. Okay. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Thank you. If you want to ask questions, just fire away. Okay.
So please write through the chat the questions that you may have, and we'll answer them. So Fred, the first question from Joris Yelov. So it's regarding the slide deck, and so yes, we will share it by email to the email that you registered to this webinar. So we will be sharing this.
Okay, any more questions?
If you have any question also regarding the open call data market services program, please feel free to share. Or if you have some doubt regarding your own pitch deck, we'll be happy to answer and even to check it after the session. So you can feel free to share it with us. So a few questions. So how do you see the investment market going with the current crisis? From Tiago Santos.
Okay. Well, over in the next time, what we're seeing and what is expected is that investors will focus a lot on their own portfolio, helping out their own companies for these difficult times. So investment in new rounds will be surely less frequent, and investors' evaluations will go down, and most investors will focus on their own portfolio. That's pretty much it.
And now from Vala Rohani from Data Corner, how is the pre-value calculated?
Okay, well, there's a multitude of things that you can do to evaluate a company. So going through the easiest way is if you have revenues, and if you're on a later stage, it's kind of easy. So what we generally do is calculate what is the annual recurrent revenue and make a multiple out of it regarding the industry that you're currently tackling. Okay. Before crisis, it would be somehow a benchmark to calculate over 10 times what is your annual recurrent revenue, which was the current valuations that were being made pre-COVID. After COVID, it's a complete we don't know yet. As for pre-rev startups, that is a very interesting question, and it's basically an art. When we tackle pre-rev startups, and we do that a lot in BrightPixel, what we're trying to do is try to get away from the valuation head on first, meaning the calculations have to be done the other way around. So you have to decide how much it's going to cost to keep that project alive for 12, 18, 24 months, and how much money you need. And you'll reach a number, okay, for your business plan. Either it's 600, 500, 300K, whatever it is. And then you look at what you want to dilute in this round versus the next round, okay? So imagine that you want to dilute around 20%. So you're asking 300K for 20% of your company. And then that's how you get an evaluation. That's pretty much it. Because you don't have revenues, you don't have any multiple that you can rely on, and there is no benchmark regarding competition that you can use, because once again, you don't have revenues. So it has to do based on costs and what are you proposed to doing and how much time you need until the next round, until you have metrics for the next round. And when I say that you have to think about the next round, the round after this, is because you have to define the KPIs that will serve as multiple for the next round. So you don't want to do a down round. You do want to have 2 to 3 times the post-money valuation that you're reaching in this first round. So it's basically meshing up all that information. Costs, how much you propose to achieve revenue-wise until the next round, and how much is that going to address the next stage round. Was that clear?
So we have also one more from Pierre Gain.
Hi, Pierre.
In some occasions, the team is presented up front. What is your view about that?
Yeah, okay. I'm totally okay with that. The team is the most important. And you can look at the presentation at especially in a pre-rev startup. And you can look at 2 ways. Or you can start strong with presenting your team and then going through the rest of the presentation. Or you can end up strong by presenting your team, showing how amazing you guys are. I prefer this approach of ending up strong if you have a really good team. but I've seen the team being presented right after the solution, and that is completely fine.
And Vala will you may talk now, please.
Hi.
Hi, Vala.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
now I can.
Yes. Thank you so much for your very informative presentation. Yeah, my question was about that how to calculate the pre-value of a startup or an idea. That you answered it perfectly, and I received my answers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so please, I'll ask in the next minute. You may please ask the final questions, and then we'll end this webinar. Okay, so we should now then finish, and bear in mind that we'll be sharing with you the presentation, and please feel free to reach out if you like your pitch deck to be assessed, if you like our opinion on that, and also please check in datamarketservices.eu the current open call that we have. So this is just a sample of the services that we may provide for free within this acceleration program, and we'll be happy to help you through the application process. So please go check this website.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for attending. I really hope this was productive. And making my words from wrong, feel free to reach out to us or to give me comments regarding the presentation, whether you like it or didn't, and give me your suggestions. I'll be more than happy to talk to you guys. Okay, thank you so much.